A bird sang this song to me. There was a message in its melody, sweetest lyrics that I ever heard. There's a message in the songs of birds. He said, tomorrow is another day, but living is the only way that tomorrow's gonna ever come. Listen to the words of the song. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything is gonna be.
Greetings and welcome to A Sip of Inspiration. I'm Stephanie Wilson-Coleman, the Empowerment Doctor, and I am your host for today's segment of Eating Healthy in Food Deserts. Now, I know some people are wondering, why eating healthy in food deserts? But for the last 6 months, I've been on this quest to eat as healthy as I could. I generally eat fairly healthy. I avoid a lot of foods that aren't good for you, but in my quest and my busy schedule, I often find myself unable to get to healthy food for a lot of reasons. So as I ponder this, I remembered the quote, "Let food be your medicine and medicine your food." And I too have often used food in order to heal various ailments. But as I researched this further, I was listening to Dr. Mark Hyman, and I wrote down what he says. He says that diet could cure arthritis, fatigue, irritable bowel, reflux, chronic allergies, eczema, psoriasis, autoimmune diseases, diabetes, heart disease, migraines, depression, attention deficit disorder, and occasionally even autism. And that eating healthy would also help you to lose weight quickly and easily without cravings, suffering, or deprivation. Now, can you imagine that? Eating the right foods would cure just about anything. Now, several years ago, I was diagnosed as having what the doctor called high blood pressure, and I have been using food and exercise in order to heal this particular disorder. So I'm happy to report for the last couple of years with the use of food, I have been able to keep my blood pressure down in the normal range. Now, Dr. Hyman says that bad food is bad medicine and it'll make us sick. So that makes a lot of sense. And if you take away bad food and replace it with good food, then you can watch the magic happens. But how do you do that if you don't have easy access to grocery stores where you can get fresh vegetables, or even markets where you can get fresh fruits, where you can have a variety of meats that aren't shot up with lots of things that aren't good for you? So I thought that it would be a good time to explore this particular segment, especially in this time of year when we find ourselves really contemplating, what can I do to become healthier? And when the choice is as simply as eating better, I figured I could give you some tips. So as usual, I need you to get a pencil, a pad, drink of water, or whatever it takes, preferably room temperature water if we're doing healthy, and meet me right back here. We'll be right back in a few minutes.
Oh, those boys are much too much. Those boys are much too much. We got the spirit. We're hot. We can't be stopped. We got the spirit. We're hot. We can't be stopped. We're going to beat them and bust them.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life.
Let's get a little bit rowdy. R-O-W-D-Y.
Take time to be a dad today. Call or visit fatherhood.gov to learn more.
Greetings and welcome back to A Sip of Inspiration. I'm Stephanie Wilson-Coleman, the Empowerment Doctor, and I am your host for today's show. Remember, the topic is eating healthy in a food desert. We're going to cover a lot of information today. In my research, I turned up some amazing things. But I do want you to know that things that you learn today, if you're having any of these health problems, discuss them with your healthcare provider. Don't just make that automatic switch, because in today's medicine world, we don't know if there's chemicals in certain medicines that will interfere with, that the vegetables or the foods will interfere with, and we don't want to cause you any additional problems. So be sure you take notes and just discuss them with your health provider. Also, feel free to do your own research too, so you can have many, many more questions to ask. And if you prepare your questions in advance of your appointment, then you won't forget what you want to ask, and you'll make sure that that 10 or 15 minutes you spend with your health provider is very, very good and instrumental in helping you on your journey to reclaim your health. So the first thing I discovered is that eating healthy is like a puzzle. So there's all of these pyramids and groups and fingers and hands about what you should eat. So one of my favorites was the healthy eating pyramid, and we will put a graphic up for that pyramid in the show so that you can see it, but it's actually a pyramid, and it has at the top, it has at that very skinny top of the pyramid, it's rice, bread, pasta, potatoes, sugary drinks, sweets, and salts. Now remember, that's just a little bit at the top of the pyramid. And there's the second part of that pyramid is dairy, 1 or 2 servings, or vitamin D and calcium supplements. So if you're not getting dairy, you can also do the vitamin D and calcium supplements. Then you go further down toward the bottom of that pyramid, you have nuts, beans, tofu, and seeds. And then that's one half of that. And then the next is going to be fish, poultry, and eggs. And then you go down, and then there's vegetables and fruits. Of course, that's a bigger block. Then you get a little bit of healthy fats, and then you get whole grains. And at the very bottom, the base of that, the foundation of that pyramid, is daily exercise and weight control. Now, even though that seems to be the foundation, when it comes to great weight, it is 80% of what you eat and 20% of the exercise. But exercise is important because we're now finding that all the sitting that we do is actually killing us. So you need to make sure that you're getting your 10,000 steps a day. That's the minimum. What healthcare providers now are asking us to do is to take 20,000 steps. Now, I have personally experimented with walking in place while commercials are on television, and you can get a lot of steps if you walk in place just doing the commercials on any television shows that you watch. That's a Stephanie tip. So as you look at that pyramid online on that JPEG that we put up for you, write down where you need to make adjustments in your eating habits. Now, there is another one that I like where Margaret Marshall actually took her hand. So, and if I didn't think I couldn't get the ink off, I would have did it to my hand, but she put her hands up. So your fats are to equal proportion of your little finger to the rest of your hand. And then this finger represents the proteins. This finger is the fruits and vegetables. So as you can see, fruits and vegetables should be the vast majority of what you eat. You get a few carbs. So we're not saying no to anything. We're just saying no to a whole lot of everything. And then this is going to be your specialties, like your beans and seeds and tofu and even oils. So as you look at that one that's going up now, that's an easy way to remember it too. If you want to, if you write on your hand, be sure you use non-toxic ink, but I wouldn't recommend that. So now you've got that. So you've got to have a little fat, because fat acts as a carrier to take out the high caloric items out of your system, and it flushes it through your bowel and your urinary tracts. Fruits and vegetables are filled with good carbs, good sugars, and all kinds of nutrients that you need in order for your body to function. And of course, carbs will just give you the energy that you need. And also, the beans are great source of protein. So now, I want you to pay attention right now to the benefits of healthy eating that we're going to show you at this moment.
We all want healthy kids, right? And we want them to succeed in life. We need to improve our children's nutrition and get them moving. Do the math. Good food plus active bodies equals kids equipped for success.
Hi, I'm Congressman David Young. Healthier children perform better in school and have higher self-esteem. Let's help them eat right and get moving today.
This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Now, the benefits of healthy eating actually gave us some great advice. However, it was only a little over 2 minutes, so don't expect to get the whole history of the benefits of healthy eating in a 2-minute video. So you will need to do your own research. You will need to take in consideration your particular situation. So today we're talking about broad things. So eating a lot of fruits and vegetables won't help you. However, be mindful of any health problems you may have. Be mindful for any allergies. For instance, I have an iodine allergy, so I don't eat spinach. And spinach is very good for you, but it's really high in iodine, which would cause anaphylactic shock for me. So be mindful of that. But there are a lot of vegetables available in the marketplace for you to be able to safely avoid those that you cannot digest and embrace those that you can. So the question is that I had was, why then, since food is our medicine, and medicine should be our food, why are lifestyle diseases on the rise? So when I say lifestyle diseases, I'm talking about things like some diabetes, high blood pressure, obesity, and they're lifestyle diseases because it's food that's causing those diseases. It's what we choose to eat, how we choose to eat it and prepare it, and when and how often we choose to eat it that is causing those. And if healthy food is the viable option, the most preferred option for healing diseases, according to Dr. Mark Hyman and some more of his colleagues, then why has that become a problem in our society? So I've discovered that in my own shopping, that while eating healthy is the answer, often it is prohibitively expensive. You make life choices in the grocery store. So a meal for 2 or 3, if you're shopping straight out of a grocery store, could cost you $200 a week. And then less healthy options are cheaper. So people tend to go with what's cheaper and in their budget as opposed to trying to get the healthier styles all the time. Then you discover this new concept, and it's not as new as we think, we're just getting a lot of press on it, is that food deserts, and food deserts are growing. So let's talk a little bit about food deserts. Let's define food deserts, because now you know, and then you've seen the pictures of the healthy eating lifestyle. But a food desert is defined by the U.S. Department of Agriculture as parts of the country that are void of fresh foods, vegetables, and other healthy whole foods, usually found in impoverished areas. And it's largely due to lack of grocery stores, farmers markets, and health food providers. In other words, there are no grocery stores, supermarkets in your area that you can get to. And a lot of communities are only served by fast food restaurants. Now, they do list that corner grocery store that's known in some neighborhoods as a food and liquor store. They actually list those as a place to get food, but if you take those out because there's not a fresh vegetable to be found in most of those places, there are 25 million people in the United States, approximately 25 million, living in food deserts. That's almost 10% of the population in the U.S. 5.8 million of those households live less than half a mile from a supermarket, and they don't have access to a vehicle. So it doesn't do you any good to have a grocery store 4 or 5 blocks away if you don't have a vehicle, because if you haven't tried it, you should. Walk to the grocery store or get the bus to the grocery store and try to buy something. Try to buy chicken, some greens, some beans, and say some sugar. And then try walking home with that. That is incredibly difficult to do. And a lot of the fresh vegetables may be damaged by the time you get home. So food deserts are a real issue. So we're going to talk about how do we make good choices if we're in a food desert. First, I want you to look at this clip about what is a food desert so that we know what some of the definitions are.
Unfortunately, the solution isn't always as easy as simply buying better quality food. The USDA estimates that 23.5 million people live in what are called food deserts.
Food deserts are typically urban neighborhoods or rural towns without easy access to fresh, healthy, and affordable food. Instead of supermarkets or grocery stores, these communities are usually served by fast food or convenience stores. More than half of the population living in food deserts, or 13.5 million people, are considered low income. So it seems that for many people, low-quality food is their only choice.
This tsunami of low-quality food is becoming a global concern. In an effort to stem the effects of some of the most harmful foods, countries like Denmark, Hungary, and Mexico have instituted soda and junk food taxes. This creates issues that have governments, corporations, and individuals locked in a debate about who is responsible for deciding what and how much people should eat and drink.
But research reveals that our freedom of choice is not based solely on conscious thought. As humans, we are incredibly susceptible to the signals around us. Things like ambient lighting, music, portion size, even how many people we're eating with.
Now, by now, everyone watching has determined whether or not they're in a food desert, close to a food desert. And if you go online, there are maps that you can plug your zip code into and your address that will let you know if you are in a food desert. Because some of us who have vehicles don't realize that we are in a food desert. Now, that half a mile we talked about, that's not always a contiguous 4 blocks or so. A lot of times, that mile is filled with a major thoroughfare street that you can't walk on. It's under a viaduct or an interstate crosses it. So it's difficulty in getting to that supermarket. It's not just the location. So we talked about the cost of food, and that puzzled me too. So you say, okay, if you listen to all the news that's going on, there's a lot of conversation about, oh, we need to get control of the SNAP benefits. It's way out of control. We're spending too much money. But when you actually look at the research, according to the Center of Budget and Policy Priorities, the average SNAP benefit per person is about $125 to $127 a month, which works out to $1.40 per person per meal. Now, do you spend $1.40 a meal feeding yourself? So even though it may seem that we're spending a lot, because in this country we do spend an average of $3.2 billion, but that only averages in the state of Illinois $1.32 a month per person. And then in some households in the same state of Illinois, it could go up on the high end to a wonderful $261 a household. So if there are 4 people there, try feeding them healthy food choices on that amount of money. So you see where the difficulties are. Now we're going to go back. So you need dairy and calcium 1 to 2 times a day, fish, poultry, and eggs anywhere from 0 to 2 times a day, but nuts and beans 1 to 3 times daily, vegetables at all times, which means at all meals, and every time you eat there ought to be a vegetable there, and fruit 2 to 3 times a day. And then whole grains with most meals. And when we talk about whole grains, we're not talking about just bread. We're talking about more than bread, because remember, bread is at that little bitty top part of the pyramid, so you don't want that much. And then you want exercise every single day. Now, exercise doesn't have to be robust exercise. Simply start to walk. So park at the end of the parking lot when you shop and walk to the front door of the store. You'll be surprised. A lot of times that can be half a mile going to the door and half a mile coming back. And if your goal is 5 miles a day, you do that a couple times, then you have got that down. So I looked for alternatives of how to find affordable food in a food desert. And I found some very good recommendations. So now I want you to look at living in a food desert, food affordability, with Dr. Hyman.
I grew up playing football, basketball, baseball, right in this park.
I live pretty close here, about 12 blocks away, and this is the park that I come to.
The last time I heard about healthy eating was in elementary. I was eating healthy for a minute, salads, light snacks like carrots and yogurt.
I like to eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. If I can only eat one fruit for the rest of my life, it'd probably be a mango.
Mine's is watermelon.
Celery is my thing. Like, I love celery with passion.
My mom made me this white bean chili once, and it was just ridiculously good.
And after you leave elementary, it's like nutrition went out the window.
When I have like hours of playing, then I'm just really thirsty and hungry, so I take about 6 burgers. If you want to eat like any salads, they usually cost around $8.
Why is it a burger cheaper than lettuce?
A salad.
Right?
It's cheaper, you know, to go to a fast food place than it is to go and get like a meal there and you have to go home and prepare.
I can afford it, you know, like, yeah, it's better, but yeah, it's also more expensive.
I used to grab like 2 or 3 bags of groceries, and I had my backpack from work, and then I had my headphones, and then I had my laptop. I'd be like, I don't see how people do it. Like, get a buggy or something.
I've done that once, dude, and I had the ratchetiest cart too, man. It was like squeaking, people were looking. I was like, hey, how you doing? Like, I'm getting all this groceries home. I don't do that every day, you know, that would be just like ridiculous.
My mom never grocery shop in their neighborhood. That's crazy.
Well, if you go to a grocery store around here, you're gonna end up finding the same thing that you find in any other grocery store, but it's probably gonna be lower quality.
Lettuce look picked over, the tomatoes look smashed and mushy, the fruit look like bugs and ate on it.
Everything is just like you don't want to eat it. It's like living in the desert.
The Mojave Desert, no fresh food.
Thank you for joining us again. This is Stephanie Wilson-Coleman, the Empowerment Doctor, and you are listening to and watching Eating Healthy in a Food Desert. So far we have defined a food desert. So far we have looked at the healthy eating guides and charts from the pyramid to the one on the hand, and the one on the hand ought to be really easy to remember. There is even one with a plate that we may show later in the show that will show you how much of your plate needs to be filled with fruits and vegetables, how much with meat, and generally the rule on meat is about 3 ounces of meat. So that means no more 6, 8, 12 and ounce steaks, just 3 ounces of meat. And if it's steak and stuff like that, just remember it takes you 48 hours to digest a piece of beef and pork. So that meal that you ate on Sunday, it's just leaving on Tuesday. So 3 ounces is sufficient for you. So when we left for a break, mentioned I wanted to talk about vegetables. So of course the first rule is to buy fresh when you can. So if you buy fresh produce, I want you to buy what's in season, because what is in season is going to be the most reasonably priced. Now that means that you will have to like challenge your cooking skills, because there'll be parts of the year where root vegetables are going to be the vegetable to buy. So you're going to see a lot of squashes, and you're going to see lots of beets and things like that. And squashes and beets are not normally something that people have a lot of in their diet, but there are a lot of great recipes online and even in Pinterest that will help you learn to prepare those vegetables. And the good thing about fresh fruit and fresh vegetables is you buy a lot of them, then you prep them and you freeze them so that you have them for over 6 months, because they can last about 6 months frozen. So you can always have those peaches or apricots. So peaches, generally when they're on sale, you could get like a gazillion pounds for $3. You use what you're going to use now, and then you cut up and you follow the recipe as to how to prepare them to freeze them, then you freeze them so you can have them all year long. Same with root vegetables. And if you keep them in like the basement or in an unheated basement or in a freezer in the basement, then they'll last for months. The other thing is there's this debate always, and I want to show you what Carrie Glassman says about frozen produce. Frozen produce can be very good, especially if you live in a food desert. Frozen produce may be the only produce that you have access to. So here's when reading the labels are going to be valuable for us. So look at the nutritional value in that bag, that frozen bag. Try not to buy anything that has a lot of salt in it, or you want basic ingredients. You want it to be the vegetable or fruit that you're buying and maybe one other ingredient, but that's it. So if you buy those, the process on frozen food is generally they take fresh vegetables and then they will prepare those to be frozen. So they're frozen right away, so the nutritional value is frozen into the food. And you can store those for months also. But right now I want to take a look at Carrie Glassman. She's a healthy cooking expert who talks about frozen foods.
Families lead hectic lives, balancing the demands of school, work, sports, and more. Sometimes we'll cut corners, maybe compromise what we eat. Our next guest says frozen foods could be the answer. Carrie Glassman is a nutritionist, registered dietitian, and author. Welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me.
So why are frozen foods a smart option for hectic lifestyles?
Frozen foods can be a great option for hectic lifestyles because they are convenient, they can be cost-effective, they can taste great, and they can really help us bridge the gap and meet different nutrient needs throughout the entire year. I have a very hectic lifestyle, and I always have my freezer stocked with frozen foods. I love frozen fruits and vegetables. Frozen fruits and vegetables, we know, are like pushing nature's pause button. They are frozen at peak ripeness, so they've locked in the nutrients. Sometimes they have even more nutrients than their fresh counterparts. So that's something that I incorporate into my lifestyle, all through the year.
Give us some options for frozen foods that we can turn to from breakfast all the way to dinner.
Okay, so starting with breakfast, as I just mentioned, those frozen fruits and vegetables, I always, almost every day, give my kids a smoothie and incorporate frozen berries. So they're starting their day off with lots of brain power in those berries from the antioxidants, and they're getting in the fiber. That's something easy to keep on hand 12 months of the year. And then, for example, lunch and dinners here. At lunch, one really great option you can do is if you've made a great homemade meal the night before, such as something like a roasted chicken, take some of that roasted chicken and just supplement it with a frozen item. For example, here I've got rice and beans and corn. All of a sudden, you have a full meal when you balance it out with some frozen broccoli. So you've got broccoli, the rice, the beans. You're using your leftover chicken, which also using your leftovers can also make, your grocery bill go down a little bit. You're being a little bit more cost effective with how you're using your foods there. And then we have an example here of a salad with a portion-controlled version of pasta. So if sometimes you're overindulging in pasta, there are healthier options that you can choose. And again, couple it with a fresh salad. You can even buy salad bagged these days, so that's also something that's easily incorporated in a fast way to make your hectic lifestyle a little bit less hectic. And then, for example, over here at dinner, we've got a lasagna. It's, again, portion controlled, and also if you're just cooking for yourself, you might not be making a huge lasagna at home. So it's a way to indulge in it in a very simple, fast way. And again, it's coupled with a salad.
You mentioned cost. How does it compare to buying fresh?
Well, they can just be more cost effective. Again, especially the fruits and vegetables are going to be less expensive than the fresh. And then again, if you're going to make a full, 3-course meal from scratch, you're often buying many more ingredients. So for those times that, you want to maybe buy an ingredient that you're going to only, use once or so, sometimes it's better to just even buy a frozen option or to have that frozen option available.
Now also, besides buying fresh and buying frozen, you can start your own garden. Now, you don't have to grow everything, but maybe 1 or 2 things. And there is a lot of information in stores that sell seeds that will help you learn how to start your own garden. There's a lot online. There's books about it. You can find it just about everywhere on how to start your own garden. So you pick say, fruits and vegetables that you use a lot of, and you start to grow those fruits and vegetables. The good thing about it is that it's cheaper than going to the grocery store. Now, you do have to tend to it regularly, but there's actually been studies that show that people who garden lower their blood pressure, lower their stress level, and actually improve the level of their diabetes level. So gardening is incredibly therapeutic. So here you can get some exercise in, improve your health, reduce your stress, and provide fresh vegetables to your family and your friends. And I say friends because you'll have a lot of it. Then at the end of the harvest, you can freeze all of your excess foods and vegetables, and if you freeze them properly, they will last for months. So those tomatoes or those potatoes or greens or green beans, you'll have them for a long time. So if you want to eat green beans and they're out of season, just remember they're downstairs in your freezer. You know that you used organic soil, and you know that you use the best seeds. So you know that what you're getting is going to be the best version of that vegetable for you. A lot of studies say take a multivitamin. So if you think you're not getting enough fruits or vegetables, you can start to take a multivitamin with minerals to ensure that you're getting all the vitamins and minerals that you need. Now, just don't run out and start taking a vitamin. There are a lot of vitamins on the market. Be sure you read and research ones that will work for you. They have suggested that you do take a multivitamin and that you take some vitamin D just in case you're not getting enough calcium and vitamin D. So make sure you figure out which ones are for you, because you have to get the minerals from somewhere. You cannot expect to keep a healthy body if every meal you eat looks like meat and potatoes. Then when you do shop in the grocery store and you're buying the packaged food, we talked about reading food labels. And here's a tip for that. You want to look for foods that have no more than 600 milligrams of sodium and 12 grams of sugar per serving. And the per serving is important because what you see on that back of the bag or can is the serving. Is the nutrients by serving. But you have to look up at the top to let you know how many servings. So often we'll look at something and says, oh my God, there's 600 milligrams, this meets the rules. And then you say, and this whole can. But then you look at the top and there's 4 servings in there. So that really means that if you ate that whole can, you're getting 2,400 milligrams of sodium. You're only allowed to have 3,000 to 3,400 milligrams of sodium, according to the American Heart Association. So already, with one little can of something that you just cannot live without, you are committing suicide and don't even know it. So be very careful about that. Even when you eat out, pull up your phones and look up the nutritional facts for every meal that you eat. You will be surprised how many grams of sugar you're getting and how many grams of sodium you're getting. And then you will no longer have to wonder why you picked up 10 more pounds over the last 6 months, because most of the foods that are served in the restaurants are anywhere from 3,000 to 12,000 milligrams of sodium, and we usually try to eat all of our food and clean our plates, and the sugars can be upwards to 90 grams of sugar. So imagine that in one meal. The next thing is try to find a store that will sell you at least the basics. So the basic vegetables will be cabbage, collards, or some kind of green. That's collards, turnips, mustards, kale, carrots, broccoli, things like that. Just the basic foods. Those foods are incredibly healthy. They have a wide range of vitamins in them, as well as some vitamin K that you hear a lot about now. And they have, everyone's worried about belly fat. They have natural ingredients inside of those foods that will help eat away the belly fat. They're very healthy. You can use them in a lot of recipes. And beans and lentils You can find dried beans and lentils just about everywhere, but find a store that you can at least get beans or lentils, or peas, and peas and beans are legumes, so they are very good for you. So there are black beans, red beans, white beans, there are black-eyed peas, purple hull peas, there's all kinds of peas. So find one or two and make friends with them. Figure out how to cook them and make friends with them. And don't overcook the vegetable. It's already dead once you pulled it off. You don't want to kill it even more. You don't want to drain out all of the vitamins. So you want to just cook it till it's done so that it maintains the vitamin. And the next thing is, if you go to the grocery store, especially if you live in a food desert, the grocery store is something that you can't visit as often or frequently as you like because of the difficulty of getting that. I want you to make a list of what you need before you go, so that when you do get to the grocery store, you make the best out of that trip to the grocery store. So you create a shopping list. You can do one online, you can do one on your phone, you can even use old-fashioned pen and paper and write down what you need and stick to that list. And when you write that list, I want you to be sure you write next to it what those things are going to cost, so you know before you leave home if that's in your budget. So if you only have $100, you only have a list of things for $100. And eat something before you go to the grocery store, because if you go to the grocery store hungry, I promise you, you're going to spend twice as much money as you would have normally spent. Because if you go hungry, you're going to want everything in that store. A list keeps you from daydreaming about the things that you think you're going to cook. So, you know, we've all been there. You walk past something, you says, oh yeah, that's a good price. I'll get that because I'm going to make so-and-so. And then you don't ever make it, and then you end up throwing it away. So I want you to make sure that you get the best out of that grocery store. So when you go, fresh fruits and vegetables, beans, and you don't have to have fancy vegetables. And if there's something in there that you've never tried before, I want to challenge you to try a new vegetable or a new fruit every month, because you never know how your taste buds have changed and how much you might really like that new vegetables. Who would have thought that spaghetti squash would be a hit in my house? I've got a clip on shopping wisely in the grocery store that I'd like you to take a look at.
How do you save money at the grocery store?
Coupons. Clip those coupons.
I look at prices. I compare, for example, price per pound.
Buy only what you need. If you don't need it, don't buy it, because you'll end up throwing it out.
Let's face it, getting the best buys at a grocery store can be a major headache. And with so many different items and brand names to choose from, you need a real strategy to help stretch your food buying dollar. You know, part of that money-saving strategy is to have a definite game plan before you go to the grocery store. Make sure you have a shopping list. That way you'll avoid all the unnecessary random buying that happens for stuff that you really don't need. And also never go shopping when you're hungry. That's when you're likely to do a whole lot of impulse buying, just because you want to have something to munch on.
I just go up and down the aisles. I mean, whatever I feel that it's on sale that I need, I'll buy.
Did you know shredded cheese can cost 1/3 more than cheese sold by the chunk? Why not save yourself some money by buying a large chunk and then shred it yourself? And you can juice up your savings by purchasing frozen concentrated fruit juices instead of the stuff that's in cartons.
How can I save money on dairy products?
Good question. Did you know you could save up to $1.50 a gallon when you buy milk in some of the larger family-sized bottles instead of some of the smaller ones? Well, it's true. And besides, if you got a few chocolate chip cookies laying around, you can never have too much milk. Another thing to keep in mind is that butter prices can go up as much as 30 cents a pound in December because of all the holiday baking. So stock up on butter earlier in the year and then freeze it. Frozen butter tastes just as fresh. And when you're buying eggs, you should know there's no difference in the nutritional value between brown eggs and white ones. But white eggs cost less per dozen than brown. Now, when you're buying meat, the important thing to keep in mind to save money is to think in terms of servings per pound, not really cost per pound. For example, it's usually better to buy boneless cuts of meat instead of the more inexpensive cuts that have bone. With the boneless cut, you'll get 4 servings per pound of cut-up stew meat, but only 2 servings per pound of steak that has bone.
What are the best buys on fresh produce?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, hey, you gotta have strawberries. And it's best to buy plenty of them on sale at the height of their season. And when they're at their peak, they have a distinct shiny texture to them. Now, if you're into blueberries, look for the kind that have a little powdery texture on the outside. Bagged fresh spinach is always a good buy. And you'll get more for your money since pre-bagged spinach has few stems inside. And when you're buying other bagged vegetables, feel their weight and then choose the heaviest one. You might find as much as a 3/4 pound difference in the weight of a 5-pound bag of potatoes or onions. Now remember, it's important to have a strategy when you go shopping. So here's a few more tips to help you avoid some of those consumer traps that many shoppers fall into. First of all, be cautious. Don't assume an item is on sale just because it's stacked at the end of an aisle where sale items are usually placed. If you can, stay away from pre-made convenience foods such as salads at the store deli. They often cost a lot more per pound than if you made it yourself with the raw ingredients. Now, coupons are great money savers, but avoid impulse buying something you really don't need just because you have a coupon for it. And finally, consider buying the supermarket brands instead of name brands. Often the supermarket brands are equal in quality to the national ones, but lower in cost. And for most shoppers, low cost is what it's all about.
I shop 50. Whoever has the best deals, that's where I go.
The next thing I want to talk about is sustainable agriculture. Now, food deserts are occurring at an alarming rate as grocery stores and supermarkets are looking to increase their profits. They're moving out of neighborhoods that will not allow them to meet their revenue goals. So even though getting a supermarket and a grocery store in the neighborhood is the ultimate solution and the best solution, that's not something that can happen today, right now. However, changing our eating habits and finding better alternatives is something that we can do in the meantime. Now, a lot of communities have sustainable agriculture. They've got these community farms, they've got food banks, and generally a lot of them have started just with a small plot of land in an area that they were able to work out with the city council or the mayor that they could use, and they just started planting vegetables. And those gardens are open to the public. So there are lots of information in your community. So contact your mayor's office, contact your alderman if you're in a city with an alderman, and find out where they are so that you can start to visit those farms and get fresh vegetables. And the vegetables are plentiful and they have many, many choices. So this would be a good time for you to stock up, learn how to cook something new, and store some of those in your freezer. Also, if you're not that close to one, container gardening or indoor gardening is really big also. I do a small amount of container gardening at home where I grow all of my herbs. So I grow basil, thyme, oregano, all of the ones that I use every day because it's nothing like having it fresh, and the nutrients are wonderful. Fresh oregano has natural antiviral and antibiotics in it. So I do that, and I also grow habanero peppers there in my container. You can keep them in the containers you even buy it in and put it in the big container, and you just have to water it daily, and then you just clip off what you need. And that's an inexpensive way. And you can get started with those by buying cedar plants from your farmers markets there, or even from a lot of the stores. A lot of the home supply stores have plants that you can start to grow too. So those are really good. Now, as I was looking at creating sustainable agriculture and food deserts, I found some interesting information also. So I want to share this clip with you.
If you can imagine flying into LAX, you know, the pilot will say we're coming into Los Angeles, weather's great. Look out the window to your right and you'll see Hollywood. And if you look out the left window, you'll see the rest of South Los Angeles, which is an ocean of communities. You will not see any grocery stores when you look out the left side of your window of the plane. You just won't. It's not just. It's an unjust system. communities get left behind by the free market as far as access to healthy food options. A good example would be the 8th Council District. The average resident who lives in that council district drives 12 miles round trip just to get to a grocery store that has healthy food available to them. So that's a lot of Los Angeles. These are areas where oftentimes the fast food industry will infiltrate. It really perpetuates the cycle of obesity and diabetes among especially migrant communities and people of color.
Everybody here has the opportunity to pitch a project. And so I said, okay, well, I have an idea. Let's do something about food deserts, because I live in a food desert. And so let's see if we can do something utilizing technology to help people that have an immediate need to access healthy food.
Food Oasis is a map of food resources in the city and county of Los Angeles.
So whether it's food pantries, food banks, community gardens, or farmers markets, we list them all here. And so based on the person's location, we can basically show them, okay, well, there's a farmer's market here. Did you know about that? And then they would be able to find a food pantry that they might not have known existed.
It is high tech, you know, we are using cutting edge programming and coding and all that stuff. And what's fascinating is that we're really using it to address something that's as low tech as you can get, which is growing food and then distributing it and sharing it with community. Aloha!
Welcome to the garden.
I volunteer here, and I've been showing my son what it means to grow your food, where it actually comes from, and also providing for ourselves, you know what I mean? Being able to kind of supplement the small income that I have because I'm a single mom. I used to be a preschool teacher, and a lot of my students didn't know the difference between a tomato and a potato because they come from a lot of low-income families. Fresh fruits and vegetables are really hard to come by, or whatever the case may be. So having this access, this space, emotionally, I mean, it definitely lifts my spirit because this is something that I've been wanting to do.
So this one's winnable. And I think that's really what's fun about it, is that this is so winnable. Like, we can turn our food system around. And of course we have to, because we have to globally grow as much food in the next 40 years as we have in the last 40,000 years combined. At the end of the day, this is about empowerment and empowering communities with new tools. Hopefully, one of the byproducts of that process will be healthier children and fuller stomachs.
My liquid grill.
Yeah, that's the last scale. Now, I was driving down the street in our neighborhood coming from church, and I realized that there were about 60 blocks between church and the next grocery store. And I wondered, how do you shop for food? But I did notice an overabundance of like Family Dollar stores and Dollar Trees. So I said, let's look in there and see what we can do about maybe eating healthy. And you will be surprised what I found out. So right now we're going to take a break, and we'll come right back to that.
Hi, welcome to my channel, Modest Vegan Chick, here with a small Dollar Tree grocery haul. I tried to do a more alkaline, Dr. Sebi nutritional guide approved items from the Dollar Tree. So if you're on a budget and you want to try to do the whole Dr. Sebi nutritional guide shopping, you can find a few things from the Dollar Tree. Not a lot, but a few, especially if you're shopping for staple items like spices, water. Yes, you can get some really great water from the Dollar Tree, especially spring water, which is Dr. Sebi approved. This particular water, Crystal Geyser, is available at other stores, and it's not $1. Shockingly, it's most of the time I've seen it, it's been $2.99. Saw it at Whole Foods, and it was $2.99 a gallon, the same size, everything. So when I go to Dollar Tree, I always try to stock up. You can order this by the case from the Dollar Tree and have them deliver it to the store, and you can pick it up. It's a great deal. And this water is a neutral alkaline. I think it's about a 7. So it's a super, super deal. All right, so some other things that I got are some spices. Yes, if you're on a budget and you don't want to pay a lot for spices, the Dollar Tree is a great place to start off to buy some of your spices, more alkaline, SABI approved spices you can get from the Dollar Tree. Also, Dollar Tree does have nuts and seeds. This is the only one, chopped walnuts, that I could find that is on the Dr. Sebi list of approved nuts and seeds. So, and it's just, you know, walnuts in here, of course. So I just picked up a package of that. Great to make walnut milk out of. All right, so as far as the spices, these are all the spices that I got according to Dr. Sebi's list. You can look on here and you can see some of the approved spices that you can get. But just because you don't see it on the list does not mean it's not approved. It could also be a herb, a vegetable, and a spice form. Some spices you will not, or herbs you will not see on the list, but you will find him talking about them through his lectures and things like that. So if you follow Dr. Sebi, these are things that you should know. If not, watch some of his videos on YouTube. And like I said, the guide is kind of like just what it is. It's a guide. Doesn't mean it's just these things. There are much more things that he talks about in his lectures that are approved that you can eat. This is just a basic guide to help you. Okay? So some of the spices that I got from the Dollar Tree. Got some oregano. And yes, it's always good to get more organic spices. But like I said, if you're on a budget and you want to start off cheap, because maybe that's all you got, or, you know, you just don't want to pay a lot for spices, get them from the Dollar Tree. But only get the alkaline, the more alkaline approved spices. Because they have tons of spices at the Dollar Tree. So these are the ones that I got that I believe to be more SABI approved and more alkaline. All right. So we got some oregano, got some basil, okay. Got the cloves, perfect seasoning for the holidays, and some sage. These come in a really nice big size. Okay, and these particular spices only have what they say. They don't even put it on the package. But they pretty much are what they say. If it's basil, it's just basil in here. Okay. All right, so chopped onions. Onions are an approved vegetable, so you can definitely get those in a spice form. Onion powder. Have some allspice. I believe is still an approved herb. You can get it in a spice form. Ground ginger, definitely. And then I have some cayenne pepper, nice big size of that. And pure sea salt is approved. This is sea salt, and it's just sea salt here. Okay, and it is in a grinder, which is really nice. All right, so that's pretty much all the things that I got from the Dollar Tree. Dr. Sebi approved. Could be a little questionable with these non-organic spices, but like I said, it's budget friendly. It's a great place to start. Great way to season all your good alkaline food that you're cooking. All right, so I also do have one other haul from the Dollar Tree. This is my third haul. My first one was beauty and makeup. Second one, my little grocery haul, and then this one, more household, kitchen, and organizing things. So definitely stay tuned for that video. Thanks again for watching.
So today we've covered what eating healthy is, how it looks. And you've seen a couple of charts on the healthy food pyramid shaped like this. Means at the top, that's where that bad stuff is we like. You can only have a little bit. And underneath the bottom was the exercise. And then that was the one with the hands, remember? With fruit and vegetables being the largest selection of what you're going to eat. And then we talked about food deserts and how to eat healthy in food deserts. Buy fresh when you can. Buy it in season. Freeze what you don't use. There's nothing wrong with buying frozen, but keep it to 3 ingredients: the vegetable, water, and maybe one other ingredient. The other thing is food gardens in your urban gardens in your neighborhoods, or some sustainable agriculture. There are a lot of, if they're not in your neighborhood, usually there may be in another neighborhood close to you where you can actually join and get food baskets from them. There's food pantries. I want you to try farmers market, and I want you to try some container gardening. Start with one vegetable. And the other thing is, don't be so quick to turn your nose up on the Family Dollar and the Dollar Tree stores, because they do have a way to help you eat healthy. I hope that I have made it easier for you in your quest to get good food, to become healthier, and to live the best life you have ever had. I want you to dream big, and remember, life is too short to drink cheap champagne. I want you to do not go gently into that dark night. Find a mountain that you love and conquer it. I want you to make today so good that yesterday gets jealous. And then I want you to know that you have what it takes to do all of the things that you dream to do. So have a great day. This has been the Champagne Connection, a sip of inspiration. And as always, it's been my pleasure.